Welcome back, Bree from Bree Beers and Associates, and today we're talking stimulus payments. So both the CARES Act from March of 2020 and the Economic Aid Act of December passed economic payments, meaning stimulus payments. These were payments created to give to taxpayers to compensate for lost wages and hardships of COVID. Most taxpayers have actually received one or both of these payments, but there are many of you out there who have not. So today we're gonna dig into why you might not have received those payments and what you can do about it. Disclaimer, we are recording this on January 30th of 2021, so there may have been things that have passed since we recorded this, so definitely check for updates if you're watching this down the road. So real quick, let's talk about what is your stimulus payment. All right, stimulus payments are sometimes called economic relief payments, economic impact payments. That's actually the one the IRS calls them, and the SBA that actually passed this law goes with, but we use them all. They're all kind of interchangeable at this point. So the CARES Act back in March passed that stimulus payments of $1,200 per taxpayer and $500 per dependent would be made to taxpayers under a certain income threshold. These payments were to be paid out between April and September of 2020. Then in December of 2020, the Economic Aid Act passed, and that granted $600 per person. So dependent, taxpayer, all the same. And that money started hitting bank accounts at the end of December and was still hitting bank accounts as of like now, January 30th. So those funds are still being distributed. So if you didn't receive one or both of these payments, the first thing we gotta do is make sure you actually qualified to receive these payments. So the CARES Act from March of 2020 said that these economic payments, these stimulus checks, would go out to anyone that made less than $75,000, $150,000 for married couples. And that if you made more than that, your check would slowly phase out and get less and less till the point that it got to zero. So if you made more than that threshold, which is $99,000 or $198,000 married, then you don't qualify for a stimulus check, and that's why you didn't get one. So the Economic Aid Act of December used those same starting thresholds of $75,000 and $150,000 for married, but instead of going all the way up to $99,000 and $198,000 before you completely phase out, it actually phases out at $87,000 and $174,000. So again, if you make more than those two numbers, then you don't qualify for that second stimulus payment, and that's why you didn't get it. So the last piece of that qualification is, well, what year are you looking at? What numbers qualify? Well, for this most recent Economic Aid Act, they're looking at your 2019 tax return. Back in March, when they were giving out the first stimuluses, they were looking at 19 if it was filed, but if it wasn't, they did look at your 2018 and use that figure instead. So maybe at this point you're like, nope, I made less than those thresholds, so why didn't I get my money? So first, if you didn't file a 2019 or a 2018 tax return, you ran into problems, all right? Because they went off those figures when they calculated how much they owed you. The good news is if you didn't receive one or both of your stimulus payments, you can actually go onto the IRS website that we'll link below, and you can look to see where those issues might have arisen. Some of the more common issues we've seen for delays or missed payments include checks being mailed to an old address, direct deposits being made to an old bank account and then later reversed, and what our favorite, not enough information. Very vague, but a lot of times that message will actually come with a few other bullets that tell you what the IRS is missing in order to make that payment to you guys. So when all is said and done, you've checked all the boxes, you say you qualified for it, you look, you've resolved all the issues, and you still didn't get one or both of these stimulus payments when you should have. The good news is you will be able to get it when you file your 2020 tax return. The form is going to be called the Recovery Rebate Credit, and it's going to be attached to your 1040 or your 1040 SR tax return, and you're going to be able to reconcile what you should have qualified for based on your 2020 tax return compared to what you actually received, which, if you didn't get anything, is zero. This also applies to those of you that may have received less than you should have. So maybe you had a kid in 2020, so you qualified for an additional $500 stimulus. Maybe you were a former dependent And so you didn't get your $1,200, but in 2020, you were on your own. You should have got your money. Or maybe you made more than that phase out limit in 18 or 19 when they looked at your tax return, but in 2020, you're under those thresholds. If any of those things apply to you, you're actually going to be able to complete the rebate recovery form and get the rest of the money back that you deserve. If you guys have any questions about what we talked about today, go ahead and leave a comment below. And then I highly, highly suggest you head on over to our Facebook community, Money, Taxes, and Finance for Small Business, because these topics are what we talk about on a regular basis and have live trainings on every week. You can access that group by clicking the link in the description box. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and while you're loving on me hard, go ahead and hit the notification bell so you never miss a future video.